Hello and welcome back to the DP World Tour Picks and Bets. Skylar, Hoke here, joined by Ryan Baroff for the second time in a row. RB, how we doing?
Doing good, man. Excited to get back to DP World Tour golf.
I know we get this little Players Championship thrown in the mix, ending on a Monday. High level, anything for the players?
No, really good for Rory. He's obviously won this before, but it was nice to see him break through again. Spawn is just playing awesome, and really encouraged by Akshay. Excited to see him. I assume he'll be on the Ryder Cup team. I know it's not confirmed yet, but I think we're trending that direction.
Yeah, I mean, you already ripped your bets for Valspar this week. The one guy that I was at least very happy with for like 45 holes was Will Zalatoris, right? Looked like he was fully back. Approach numbers
Yeah,
are looking really good. Of course, the quad double is something out of my book, so it was good at least to see some spike. The future is probably going to be pretty much irrelevant now if people have seen how good he's been, but
yeah,
that was the one takeaway I had early on. But yeah, I mean, good for Rory. I mean, again, too, like from a point of course fit over things, like Rory should not play that well there, had his B game, and
hmm
could have easily won by 4 or 5. So kudos to him.
for sure.
All right, last time we chatted would have been 2 weeks ago on the European Tour. There has been a gap.
hmm
So last time out was Joe Berg.
Yep.
So we wrapped up the South African swing, headed over the Porsche Singapore Classic. Callum Hill had beat Cruisewich and Norris in a playoff there, kind of a pillow fight to close out South African swing. But we'll go right into Singapore here. So we're getting back to Laguna National. Last year at this course, Jesper Svensson was the come from behind winner, shooting I think a 63 on Sunday to beat Barnrat. I believe they had to play in a playoff, right? Barnrat, or maybe
Yeah,
he's
they kept
nipping
playing the
points.
par five over and over again, and I just remember Barnrat was hitting like hybrids and three woods, and Svensson was hitting like an 8 iron. So yeah,
Yeah, this was really. I mean, he had played super well starting off his year, but that was a big coming out.
hmm
Kind of for him to get that win, and obviously, I mean, he played pretty good to start off the PGA Tour too.
yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's a lot to like about Svensson, but keeping it from a course specific thing. How are you attacking Laguna this week?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, it's a long par 72 with par five. So I think Bombers is kind of where I'm going. Obviously, Svensson is a bomber. Um, a lot of names on there. I mean, Bairstow's been up there. He hits it long. Matthew Pavan's done really well here. Paul Casey's long enough. He's done well here. Richard Mansell's done well here. Guido's done okay here. So I'm going with Bombers. Hopefully that pans out, but that's where I'm going this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hit or miss. I'm not as bomber heavy as you. I mean, the one that stood out to me outside of Svensson was Del Rey playing well here 2 times in a row.
Yes.
But I think he's not. He's kind of a one trick pony. So overall, I thought that was thing. I'm open to adding more bombers as we go. I've kind of got 5 guys highlighted at least
Yep.
overall. But if we looked at the top of the odds board, I mean, I think what helps us here, there's 2 things. I think Robert McIntyre and Paul Casey and McKibben showing up this week, right? The 3
Yep.
highest guys on the leaderboard, all coming over either from PGA Tour or Live, all should fit very, very well. Longer, accurate drivers, ball
Yeah.
strikers. The most win equity, like outside of just odds on paper, I don't know. Probably not. We've questioned all of these guys at some point from a winner standpoint.
Sure.
But then also, I think getting out of the South African swing probably helps some of the golfers that we've bet on that of that nationality. One will come on together near 50 to 1, where these prices were cut in half
Yep.
earlier, earlier this month. But we talked Bob a little bit pre-show. You said 10 to 1, you're probably ripping them. 6 to 1, you're staying away.
I think so. I mean, yeah, he's certainly elevated himself, probably the last year to being a more consistent, top 25, top 30 player in the world. Played really well at the Players again. So obviously a lot of travel involved. But if he's, sharp and motivated, he is by far the class of this field.
I think I've been as surprised as anybody by him, and we've always been long Bob fans. But then at the same time, we were
Yeah.
probably more difficult on him not elevating his play. I thought the wins last year, he would kind of set off into the sunset a bit with
Mhm.
like a schedule standpoint. He doesn't seem to like it in Orlando and living over here. He is playing like every week and playing well. I've been super impressed by him.
He's 14th in the OWGR, 18th in the Data Golf ranking. So he is a bona fide, Ryder Cup player, top 20 player in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Master stuff, I haven't looked at futures there, but we get him back there, right? T12 on debut. I mean, I think Bob will be awesome. Paul Casey, again, I don't think there's enough for either him or McKibben for me to feel comfortable betting sub 20 to 1. So I'm cool not even really diving into them. Who is your first bet at the top of the board?
So I did look at Paul Casey, but just a lot of scar tissue there. So I went with Sam Bairstow, caught a 35 to 1 this morning. Was hoping for a little bit more, but just a guy who we've been waiting on him for 24 months now for this win. Has a couple runner-ups, ton of top 10s, 9th, 10th, and 11th in his last 3 events on tour. And he played really well here last year as well. I think he was 3rd or 4th. So Bears for me, pretty good wedge player, really good putter, plenty long off the tee. Just a guy who I think is going to win soon, and I want to be there when he does.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all think very highly of him. It's more of kind of a numbers, kind of where we're landing on. Yeah. And I kind of zigged a little bit in that same range kicking off. I'm going to 40 to 1 available still as recording, and that's Hao Tong Lee. Hao Tong Lee, recent winner in Qatar. I mean, he's been like, we don't say Hao Tong is consistent, right? But I mean, he has been the best I can remember from this, right? I mean, this is now 8 made cuts in a row, has not missed one literally since you have to go back to September of last year, right? He had top 20 to that Scottish Open or top 21st, picks up a win earlier this year, full of distance, but also really, really good irons too. And I think just the odds perspective, I mean, he came out kind of in contention in one of those events shortly afterwards. So I think Hao Tong, sky's the limit. I mean, we're going to get him at this rate. We're getting him back on the PGA Tour.
I think so, yeah. And again, I'm targeting Bombers this week, so he certainly makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like you said, has the upside, but has been a lot more consistent than we've seen from him historically. So
I say back on the PGA Tour, he never really had a full season, right? It was just spot start. So man,
he had the one good finish. Was it at the Players or was it in a major? Got him a bunch of starts too. So I don't remember which one it was.
That is gonna be fun to get Hao Tong over here. We align next, kind of in the mid range. Well, let's go first. The guy we're both on. I know the same odds there, but I'll lead you in for Jaden Trayscaper.
Yeah, I mean, again, a guy I know you've been on for many, many years. And like you referenced, we were getting him at 25, 28 to 1 in the South African swing. So I was shocked to see some 50s out there this morning on him. Probably not a guy who I would target on this specific course. He's not the longest. I don't know how well or how much experience he has playing in Asia, but he's just playing really well, like a borderline top 100 player in the world type talent. He's gone, 9th, 16th, 4th, 5th in his last 4 events. So that at 50 to 1, a guy who we're really on, just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, when you sent me your card, I mean, I was thinking, okay, you've got quite a top heavy card, but 50s for him.
Yeah.
Honestly felt crazy. Like I would have been interested in 33s, done some double takes there. I just think he is playing well above the range that is with him. I mean, you can make the same argument for your next selection here, but again, classy ball striker. And we've seen, again, those types still be able to compete. It's not like Barn Rat is long at all. Aki was the winner before. Aki's all over the place, right? So I think very well these guys can compete too. And your guy, as BRT, I wouldn't consider him a bomber, right? He's more on the very slightly above average driving distance, but kind of just does everything really well, right? And I think again, I think when I'm targeting these guys for their breakthrough win, I want form and I want winning pedigree, right? He's won at least 2 Challenge Tour events, maybe 3, made the cut in a major last year after qualifying for the Open, and again, form is just elite. He's got 3 top 10s in his last 4 events. He pretty much makes every cut. He doesn't have any course history or anything like that. But again, buying the talent on BRT at 45 to 1. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind him. I think if I'm leaning in, I mean, I prefer Scaper, gun to head, but I mean, he's been in that same category for. Yeah,
this whole range from like 40 to 50 is just, I sort of peppered it this week. So.
Yep. 100%. The one that I am kind of thinking on going into would be, I mean, Laporta was kind of,
Hmm.
he's the one that, though his odds aren't as relative to how he had played previous. I think he was triple digits after missing the cut his last time out. Then he's back
Yeah.
into the 55. So I look at Joe Dean. Joe Dean really hurt us when he withdrew post
Yep.
lock or middle of the night. But I've talked with Tom this year. Like Dean's numbers are deceptively really good off the tee. Like I've always thought he was a plotter type,
Yep.
and he's been gaining, to the field. Ras Al Khaimah is a Bombers course. He was fifth there, 20 yards better than the field average in Byron, another course that requires some length there.
Yep.
So I don't know if we know the health. I mean, he came out as 28th at the Magical Kenya, which I would have liked a little bit more from him, but 3 rounds in the 60s. So he was somebody that definitely I wanted to look back into too.
I would think he's fine. He was, in full disclosure, probably my last cut in that
Yeah.
sort of middle tier. I think, again, not exactly what I'm looking for, but I feel like we might have missed his win, right? Maybe it was the illness, maybe not, but I felt like, it was coming. He had a fifth and a 13th and everything felt good. And, but yeah, it wouldn't shock me to see him up there this week.
Yeah, he was. I know you've got another friend that you're betting here who's good in Joburg. If you want
Yeah.
to go next, you can head right into there.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Brown, I will look, if there's any excuse to bet Dan Brown, I will take it. I felt like the number is pretty fair. He's gone 14th, 10th, and second in his last three events. He shot some low ones in there. He had a round 265 in Joburg. And again, we saw what he did at the Open last year. I think we all believe in the talent. He's seen this course twice, hasn't played great. But again, really good driver, both in distance and in accuracy. And I think anytime you come to these long courses, that's going to be super important. So I am a believer in Dan Brown.
Yeah, I mean, right? He almost won a major championship not all that long
Yeah,
ago. So,
I know.
I mean, I think he's got a lot. I haven't been able to figure out where the type of courses I like him. I think he's just a continued form bet
Yeah,
overall.
I think anytime it's so, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say longer and if there's trouble in play, because he just drives it really well. Like he's super accurate for a guy who hits it plenty long. So you don't see a lot of that.
I mean, I think the one for me when it stands out. I mean, in this
Hmm.
range, I think we have another golfer, but I'll go at
Yeah,
65-1. I mean, we bet him together last time we did a show, but Marco Penge, man. I mean,
of
I
course.
think
Yeah.
he is
He's my
a
favorite bet of the week for sure.
yeah, I mean, he's a no-brainer, terrific, like driver of the golf ball. Like,
Hmm.
and I mean, if it wasn't for, I think he shot a 75 last time out. I mean, he was right there in the thick
Hmm.
of it through 36 holes, bounced back with a really good round on the Sunday too.
Yep.
So I think, him, it just hasn't caught up to the form. And again, I mean, what, 19th, 3rd, 20th, 27th, pretty much since coming back from suspension. It closed out last year pretty good. Where did he do well? South Africa was his best two last year. But
Hmm.
I mean, to me, I just think he's right
He's
now
yeah, he's like Ian Wyndham Clark from a couple years ago. He just
totally.
matches it off the tee. He's a really good putter, really good par five scorer, and I think all that stuff stands out. I actually looked. I know Coley bet him this week too, which I knew he would. I looked back at his stuff from last year. Coley bet him at this same event last year, so that
Mm,
yeah, that tells me that sort of we're on the right track with the player type.
yeah.
But yeah, a big fan of him. I have one more down there, also at 50. I liked sort of all the Frenchmen as I was going through it, but I picked one in Adrian Sadier. I was on him. I looked at Lacroix. I looked at Hugo. I just looked at all of them, but I think Adrian Sadier makes a lot of sense here. Again, form is really good. Been making a ton of cuts. 19th at Joburg. He was tied for 7th in Kenya. Had another top 15 at Ras Al Khaimah. Once again, kind of does everything pretty well. He's slightly above average driving distance, slightly above average driving accuracy, pretty good iron player. He's won on the Challenge Tour as well. I looked at some of the stuff, the courses that Svensson had played well at, the courses that
Yeah.
Alejandro Del Rey had played at, and there was a lot of Sadier showing up on those leaderboards. So, yeah, with those comps, I think he's another player who has not won on the main tour, but I could see him doing it. So he was my last there at 50-1.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite things to do. Just the comp courses from skill sets that we know of
Yeah,
that potentially aren't built in, because it's hard to do comp courses, in the DP
sure.
World
Yeah,
Tour without data. We've been without strokes gain statistics for feels like forever now, or shot tracker the last few times out, which has been super disappointing to go backwards
yep.
in those categories. Overall. Before we get into long shots, I'll make sure I get a shout out to our audio listeners. You can find us on Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, the mix, available all across your Mayo media platforms. Again, we really appreciate the support. Tom is transitioning over to his new house, which is out internet this week. So Baroff, our faithful reliever, came out of the bullpen. We're getting a lot of innings out of you this year. So we're super appreciative
Yes, sir.
of you getting over here, and always love talking shop with you. So again, if you can give us love throughout the platforms, it really does go a long way. I know we're speed running through this one here, but let us know your feedback too. If this is kind of the format that you like, I know Tom and I can get a little long-winded. So me and RB are just kind of going back and forth as we hammer here. And the next one that I am going into, let me see where the odds are right now. Yeah, same as
So
literally,
110, 125, right?
yeah, literally the same as when we bet them before and we triple taked it. So I
Yep.
get it. Like that was a weaker field, but
Yep.
I searched on Twitter. I couldn't find anything. We don't know why Zihao Jin withdrew the last time out. Like there was
Yeah.
no insight into pre-first round withdrawal. I mean, there's been a ton of illness-related stuff, over
Yeah.
basically the course of the year so
Yep.
far. If he's in the field, which he is as of Monday, if he's still in the field on Thursday, I am going to go with the bet that I feel like is 100% health. And
Yep.
for those that listened before, right? I mean, last time it probably made a little, I would say definitely made more sense last time, in the sense that it was a shorter, more accuracy driven course, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm assuming that's kind of your bone to pick with it. Like he is going to lose, looks like 10 to 15 strokes off the tee to the field.
Yeah.
He's decent when it comes to accuracy. But what we saw in Kenya was a T7 at an event, definitely a little bit more tighter. But at this range, I mean, you have another bomber or another guy who's shorter off the tee that you just feel confident in from a numbers perspective. And that's kind of the bet I'm making on more of a talent, right? A 5-time winner last year in the PGA Tour of China. So, just that is the type of guy that I think's in the tank here. So I don't want him just come off the wheel because of a withdrawal without any information.
I agree. And yeah, he was certainly on my list, but just went a different way in terms of what player type I was looking for.
What my last one is longer than yours, so yes, we'll head
It always is, right?
I'll do you.
Yeah. So my last one, Nacho Elvira, who has been a friend of the pod for many, many years. Seems like he's been out here forever, and I looked, and yeah, he's older than we are. So he's 200 to 1, which I was kind of shocked about, but he's been out of form for quite a while. But we saw a tied for 11th in Kenya, and right before that, top 25 in Qatar. He just won last year, right? It was not too long ago. He won, I think it was in Belgium, possibly, for his second career win. Not the longest off the tee, like you said, but a pretty accurate player, pretty good putter. Certainly has winning upside. And I just felt like there are signs that he's returning to form. And he is a guy who we've seen as low as 40 and 50 to 1 in a lot of these events. So not a great field. He's 200 to 1. He does have a runner-up finish in Malaysia. I know we're not in Malaysia, but we are close enough that gave me a little bit of confidence here. So Nacho at 200 to 1 was my last bet.
Yep. Totally fair. I mean, I think just from a form relative, I mean, Nacho is probably sitting at, you stretch it out, top 20, of some of that recent form, if not better than that. So can completely understand. How about a couple people that caught your eye in this range? I mean, one for me, again, it's South Africa, so I figured it was kind of going to be there, but Robin Williams was somebody I was kind of interested in, right? He finally played well. For the first time. I mean, I thought he was going to make the PGA Tour. I thought it was going to be a one-stop shop on the DP World Tour. Hadn't had the year so far, so hopefully he's coming back longer. Anybody else that you kind of looked at before I go last?
Yeah, one that we skipped over. So Ivan Cantero, we've been on a lot.
Yes, he was the one I was going to come back. I saw Coley's on him. Coley's bet him a
I don't
dozen times
know.
this year.
I don't know why I didn't bet him, other than he just doesn't seem to have the winning upside necessarily. But that was one. The other one was Dylan Fratelli, still in triple digits off a top four at I think it was Joburg, but I bet him in Bahrain at like 125 to 1, and he's been playing okay. Obviously, he has upside, plenty long off the tee. And then your guy, Jacob Skov-Olesen, right? We've seen a lot from him.
That was a bad place last time out.
Yeah, I went 5th, 7th, 9th last event, so that was, but he obviously has the talent, not the longest off the tee, but seems to be finding his footing in the professional ranks for sure.
Others, the odds probably aren't to where I would want. Wilco, just won on the DP World Tour, right? He came out, she went 65-75 in Joburg to miss cut on the number, I believe, which is classic Wilco.
Yep.
But he was another. I'm trying to think of just pure distance guys that have shown anything.
Yeah, Cantero would be the one if people are just going to blind bet. Oh no, there was one more. Sorry, Freddie Schott.
Yes,
right. So anytime we do distance, he's up there. He's been playing okay. He had a 5th very early in the year.
He had a 7th in Kenya at a course that doesn't make sense for him.
And I think he had a top 12 here on this golf course, if I remember correctly. So he was like 170 to 1 or 200 to 1. Like that would be another one that I would not be shocked to see him like in 8th place on Sunday. So,
you know who I'm missing when it comes to these type of events is Nick Bockham. Man, I miss Nick Bockham. remember that you had
a big one. Yeah. No, we had a big one with him for sure.
I think I see him post on Instagram that he's like going through his recovery. So from his shoulder injury, so he should be back. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Wrighton and Moscatel were two people that Tom and I had talked about a lot so far this year.
Yep.
That honestly, the courses that they probably played, this is the tough part of the DP World Tour. Like the gap that you get sometimes in courses, we all of a sudden jump into some tighter fits that might not make sense for these guys who were in really good form before and then fall off. So it's like,
I'm glad it was only a week, but I think we're going to see that, especially with the South Africans, right? Like, all those guys who are playing really well, you might see them all fall off like the next few months. So,
yep, for sure. Okay, I'll close out. Last pick. I really thought I'd get you on this one, but it's actual like the probably last in distance, very short. From your theme overall, but 2024 Q School winner / Ryder Cup assistant captain Eduardo Molinari. So you look at Dodo, right? Winning that event, I don't think it's the shortest of courses that they play over in Q School, right? So he does that to basically save his card. I have no idea why in the world he's playing the Nordic Golf League in lead up of this.
He must be scouting.
I actually, that's a great pickup. But he's gone 2nd and 4th, and I believe the 4th he lost in a playoff there.
Yeah.
So we've gone 3 events for Dodo: a 1st, a 2nd, and a 4th for him. Right? He won Q School, right?
Yes. Yeah. He did by like 4 shots.
So there's no reason why he wouldn't have been playing these events. He's got full status.
Yeah, maybe he was coming back from an injury or something and was just trying to get some spot starts. Yeah, I have no idea.
2nd, and this is the Marcus Kinhult playbook. You go down there, you play well, and then you go get a big place. And he's
hasn't worked out for Marcus Kinhult.
Yeah, but we bet it every time. So I think for 300 to 1, somebody who's gone 1st, 2nd, and 4th, I don't care if I don't know anything about them. I'm very interested in
totally.
So I will be on Dodo to round out the card.
Love it.
All right, so getting up to top hour. If you want to review yours, then I'll close us out with mine.
Yep, sounds good. I got Sam Bairstow 35 to 1, BRT Brandon Robinson Thompson 45 to 1, then a trio at 50 to 1 in Jaden Scaper, Dan Brown, and Adrian Sadier, Marco Penge at 66 to 1, and then a bomb on Nacho Elvira 200 to 1.
Perfect. I'll be in on Haotong Lee at 40 to 1. Jaden Scaper at 50. I am going to go into Joe Dean at 60 or 55 to 1 is Joe Dean's latest price. And then next for me here, let me make sure I have an order, is Marco Penge at 65 to 1. Zihao Jin at 125. Yep, 125. And then Dodo Molinari, Eduardo Molinari, 300 to 1. We'll probably get a little top 10 with that Dodo action too.
Of course.
So appreciate you, RB. Thank you for stepping in as always. I think we got a good stretch run of events leading into the Masters on the DP World Tour next week. Oh, next week's DLF.
Our favorite.
Open. Oh, please.
Sharma week, yes. Give us Veer Alhawat week, right?
Oh, for sure. I saw SSP Chariza was on a leaderboard last week.
Popped his head up again. Yeah, for sure.
That was fun. You better give Wiley the back call for that.
I know.
That's his favorite golfer. So cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, my friend. We will talk soon. Thanks, RB. Good luck this week.
All right. See you, buddy.